Just Talk Black Show. Disclosure Statement. Disclaimer. The views and opinions shared on the Just Talk Black Show are those of the hosts and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the show, its sponsors, or affiliates. This show is a space for open, honest, and respectful dialogue within the Black community. Some conversations may include sensitive topics, strong language, or personal opinions that are intended to spark thought and encourage positive change. Listener discretion is advised. All guests are responsible for the accuracy of their statements and agree to participate voluntarily. By appearing on the show, guests give permission for their audio, video, and likeness to be recorded and distributed across Just Talk Black's platforms. Let's talk real. Let's talk truth. Let's just talk Black.
This is the Just Talk Black Show with DJ Purpose. Every Thursday, 7 p.m. sharp. Every story, every struggle, every win we claim. We speak it loud for respect on our name. Yeah. Let's talk black, we shine, we grow. Building up the people every Thursday on the Just Talk Black Show. From pain into pride, let the whole world know we're unfiltered, unite. Just Talk Black Show. Celebrate with voices from the block to the boardroom within. Our stories connect us. It's deeper than chat. It's love, it's respect. Just talk black. Just talk black show. Say it loud. Let's talk black. Just talk black show. Rise together. Let's talk black show. Yeah. Let's talk black show. Oh yeah. Just talk black show.
Hi guys, and welcome to the Just Talk Black Show. I'm your host today, DJ Purpose, but also we've got another host who will be taking over the show today. My good friend Leon Brown will be hosting this show today. So I'm just here just to tell you about last week's show. If you missed that show, I'm telling you, you need to go and check that out. That was Leon Marshall who we had on the show, and that was talking about black melanin. Wow, I'm telling you, knowledge was in the room. Absolutely, knowledge was in the room. So guys, if you are new to the show and it's your first time ever, I do want to welcome you to the show and just say thank you for coming and watching the Just Talk Black show. And also, if you are watching, let's get those likes up, which is the thumbs up, get that done. And also you can put your message in the chat. We do have a phone number, which will be available a bit later on, but the host will let you know when that is available. But also just letting you know about our show, which is going to be on Monday. We have a panel discussion, guys. And this panel discussion is on black parenting in the UK, the challenges, the culture, and raising confident children in the UK. So that is going to be this Monday at 7:30. We are going to be live on YouTube at 7:30, right back here, guys, on Monday. But I'm going to pass it over to the host. I'm going to be bringing him in. He's just going to introduce himself, and he's also going to be introducing the guest for today.
DJ Purpose, thank you so much for inviting me to be the guest host for today. I love your show, what you're doing, everything about your progression as an amazing podcast host. It's absolutely fantastic. So I'm glad to be able to support you. And thanks very much for the invite to be the host today. We have an amazing guest. I've just read a little bit about this lady's story. I can't wait for this conversation. I want to introduce you to Louisa Hendrickson. Hello, Louisa. How has your day been today?
Hello, Leon. It's not been too bad, thank you. Quite a productive day, I'd like to say.
Fantastic. We love productive days. So listen, great to meet you for the first time. So for me, Louisa, and for everybody who's not aware of who you are and what you do, please tell us really quickly, who are you? What's your message? And why are we speaking today?
Okay, so my name's Louisa Hendrickson, and I am a grief consultant. I have a grief consultancy company called Zion's Lighthouse. Zion's Lighthouse was born after I lost my son 5 years ago. His name was Zion. So I started a grief consultancy company. I've also got a podcast called Love, Life and Loss, which I host, which we talk about grief and baby loss. But our mission is to educate and support people around grief, and we specialise in baby loss.
That's amazing. I mean, we're really going to get into that whole conversation. We're talking parent to parent as well, Louisa. So I'm really, really interested to know how you navigated that and how you experienced it. How did Zion? How did Zion die?
So I went into premature labour with him on the 28th of April, 27th of April, 2020. He was born prematurely and he survived for 47 minutes. And I say survived because I like to talk about it in the positive, use positive language rather than saying he passed away after 47 minutes. He
Yes.
survived for 47 minutes. So I had gone in to see the midwife a few days before, and she told me she thought I had an onset of a urine infection, and to come back if things got worse. I had pains, I was bleeding, I was tightenings and cramps, and it got worse. So I went back and I left without my baby. According to the doctors, and I say according to the doctors because I don't agree, but according to them, I was 22 weeks and 5 days into my pregnancy. So it was April 2020, it was COVID. So we'd just gone into lockdown. It was at the height of the panic. At this
Yeah.
point, nobody really knew that much about COVID. So everybody was, keeping their distance. And I'd gone into hospital. I drove myself to hospital because my husband wasn't allowed to come with me because he'd had contact with his grandmother 12 days before. Who tested positive for COVID. So I drove to hospital thinking I had a urine infection, and then to be told that I was actually in labour, and my labour was so far gone that there was nothing they can do to help me. And I had 3 different doctors come and tell me at different times to say that, in layman terms, you're going to have your baby and he's going to die and he's going to be classed as a miscarriage.
And say how many months pregnant were you? I think you may have said about repeat. How many months pregnant were you?
So I was 22 weeks and 5 days, according to them. So just over 5 months pregnant. But
You said
I personally think he was older.
And you said there were some things that you didn't agree with the doctors. Was that the main thing, that the age of Zion was not what you agreed with, or where was your disagreement with them?
Yeah, so I believe he was older. Whilst I was in labour, I asked them to measure him. So when you measure a baby, when you get the due date, you get it from your 12-week scan, and the 12-week scan can only be accurate around 5 days either side. I personally think my son was closer to a 24-week-old baby rather than a 23-week-old baby. But my hospital's policy, the reason why it's so key, so I just want to explain, there's a rule, I call it the 24-week rule. If your baby is born sleeping after 24 weeks, if you have a stillbirth, your baby dies before it's born. After 24 weeks into your pregnancy, it's classed as a stillbirth. If your baby dies and is born before 24 weeks into the pregnancy, it's classed as a late miscarriage. And it's very significant because things are changing, but at the time when I had my son, it determines whether you're entitled to maternity leave, for example, at work, or bereavement leave, for example. So it's very important. But anyone that's listening, any baby that is born breathing, even if they only take one breath, their class is a neonatal death. So it's no longer a stillbirth or a miscarriage. Right. And any person who has a baby that's born breathing, no matter what the weeks of gestation are, they are entitled to all things like their maternity, bereavement, and all of those things. But yeah, so I and also a lot of the policies, so my local hospital at the time, their policy was they don't give any active care. So they don't support any babies that are born under 23 weeks. And so according to them, my son was 2 days shy of that. So they decided they were going to give him palliative care, which means they weren't going to do anything. They were just going to let nature take its course.
Do they really stick so strictly? I mean, 2 days to potentially administer life-saving care, And those 2 days I mean, they're critically important for you as a mother, because that's the difference
Mhm.
between you getting care for your baby or not. And they're that strict. 2 days, I'm sorry, we're going to treat this completely differently.
Yeah, that's what that's how they treated me anyway. Um, they looked at me, and I do think that the way I look played a part in the care that I received. But yeah, they looked at me and they looked at my weeks of gestation and they said, "We're not going to give you any care. We're going to let nature take its course. And any baby born at that age without any intervention, and they're not going to survive. There's I don't think I've ever come across anyone baby that has survived without any active care. However, a baby as young as 22 weeks, if they're given active care, then they have at least a 30% chance of survival."
Wow. Man, so many questions to ask you. Let's start with this first one. What were those? I think you said 47 minutes with Zion like. What were they? What was that time like for you as a mother? What were you going through in that time?
I mean, at that moment, it was one of the best times of my life and one of the worst times of my life. I'd been in labor for nearly 12 hours and I was fighting against every natural instinct of my body. My body was telling me to push, and I knew as soon as I pushed him out, that was the end of his life. I knew whilst he was inside me, he
The
was
same.
he was okay. Yeah, so I tried my hardest because again, my hospital led me to believe that I could potentially keep him in for another week, and then they would give him active care. So I was actually lying on the bed with my feet in the air because they said gravity was my friend. I wasn't allowed to get up, but so I spent nearly 12 hours doing pelvic floors when my body was telling me to push, trying to hold them in,
Man,
and then I got to the
man.
point where I just knew that I couldn't hold him in anymore. And then I started to worry that actually by me holding him in was that going to cause him harm? So because again, I said earlier, my husband wasn't actually able to come with me. So I had my sister with me at the time, but we'd all agreed that when it was time for him to be born, would FaceTime my husband, so he at the very least get to see him come into the world. So
Which
I
hospital was
knew
this?
which.
Which
Sorry,
hospital did? Which hospital were you in childbirth at? Can you say?
it was my local hospital.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well said. I like
But
I like how you did that. Okay. All right.
yeah,
Are things
so I
improving?
knew which. Go on, sorry.
Sorry, I think there might be a slight delay, but I'll say what I was going to say. Do you think that your experience and the work that you're doing with Zion's Lighthouse is starting to create some change for, whether it's care or whether it's mothers that are going through a similar thing as you? What is the work that you're doing, or what impact is the work that you're doing starting to have on this type of situation?
I'm hopeful that it is helping people. I know my podcast definitely does because I get really good feedback from that. I do it for the silent listeners, those ones that struggle to reach out and access support or don't even know where to go. They can just listen to a podcast and resonate with it and feel validated and hear that actually somebody else felt like that or somebody else thought that. So I'm not mad. I'm not going crazy. This is normal. And by going into, I've worked with different charities to help raise awareness and to help them become more diverse as well, more accessible for people that look like me. So that I've seen that with my own eyes. I've seen how the charities have openly become more diverse, and I think it's great. I love it. I've gone in, I've done workshops on grief and baby loss, and again, the feedback that I get is really, really good. And I'm educating people and I'm starting conversations. So the thing about baby loss is it's such an awkward conversation. People shy away from it. Nobody wants to talk about it, but 1 in 4 women experience baby loss. That's how common it is. So 9 times out of 10, you're going to know somebody or be around somebody that's experienced baby loss, but they are, for whatever reason, concerned or worried to talk about it. So I
And and
start
to
those
be
conversations.
and to be clear, let's talk about what baby loss is. So it's something from as young as what you experience. What age does baby loss kind of turn into child loss or the death of a child?
So there's loads of different terms. And there's loads of different, unfortunately, there's lots of different ways that you can lose a baby. I call it baby loss. Not everybody does. They say they use the clinical names: stillbirth, neonatal death, TMRF, or early miscarriage, late miscarriage. There's lots of different ways. I call it baby loss because to me, it's a baby you've lost. So as early as, I mean, most people from around 6 weeks would know when they're pregnant. So it could be as early as that. That's when you normally get a heartbeat, is around 5 to 6 weeks. So from as early as that until past your child is 1 or 2. I interviewed a gentleman who his son died at 2. So it's how you define that as well. Some people could say I've lost a child, but most people, children under the age of 2, you still refer to them as your baby.
Yes, absolutely
So
right. Absolutely.
yeah.
And what I'm trying to understand here is, there's clearly stages of grief that you'll go through for example, the death of an elderly parent. The death of an elderly parent, which you might be expecting, they've lived a long life. You're sad to see them go, but it's time, as it were. My grandma died when she was 90 something. She had lost her sight. We loved her. We would have had her for as long as we possibly could. But when she went, it was like we were all heartbroken and sad. But it was like you lived 94 years. It's very, very different, very different to a baby, right? So, what are the kind of stages that you go through as a mother grieving, or mother, or even father grieving the loss of a child?
I think it's I don't like to say stages of grief. I say phases of grief.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think there's a misconception that we go through these 5 stages of grief and it's in a linear process. So, we feel sadness, then we feel anger, then we feel depression, and then we feel numbness. It doesn't work like that. We feel all these things, we feel them at different times, and it impacts us as individuals differently. I think the difference, though, with baby loss is, or any child that dies, is it goes against the natural order of life. We expect to bury our elderly. That is the process. That's how it's supposed to be, isn't it? We don't expect to bury our children. And that's the difference. And I'm speaking as somebody who, I lost my dad when I was 6 years old. So I've grown up around grief. So I've lost a parent. But I can tell you, my hand on my heart, there is nothing like losing a child. So no one ever expects to bury a child. And also I think when it's involving baby loss, it's such a complicated grief. There's so many layers to it. Most of the time there's trauma attached to that. So we have to think about that as well. But we're not just grieving our babies, we're grieving our future hopes and dreams as well. So there's 2 things there. Some people can combat that with having a rainbow baby. That's a baby that you have after a loss. But that on its own brings a lot of triggers, and it brings a lot of issues for you as well. So it doesn't make things perfect because you've then had another baby, because that's, again, a misconception from people. Oh, you've had another baby, now everything should be fine. It doesn't work like that. You can't replace your mum or your grandma. It's the same as a child. You can't replace your child.
Man, did you go through counseling for your grief?
I did. I tried, to be honest with you. I'd never actually had counselling or anything like that before. I've always worked in support. I've always worked in supported housing, managing supported housing accommodations. I'm that person that people come to when they've got a problem. I'm the fixer. I'm the one that puts you in contact with the right people that can support you. So I'm somebody that really struggles to access support. But when I lost my son, I knew that I needed help. There was no way I was going to be able to deal with this by myself. Unfortunately, so this is one of the reasons why Zion's Lighthouse was born, because unfortunately, the bereavement care out there is not very good. Again, my local hospital at the time of my son's death, they didn't have a bereavement policy or a bereavement midwife. I mean, they do now, because I've made sure they do. However, they didn't when I needed it. So I had nobody to signpost me, nobody to support me. When I went, I used work. I used the counselling service through work. I didn't like it. I went through the NHS. Now we probably need a whole nother podcast for that. But long story short, it took me 5 years to get the appropriate support. It's only this year have I actually received the appropriate support, something
for your own grief, for your own kind of loss. It's taken 5 years to find the right person.
I wanted EMDR therapy, so I had to do my own research. I found that in every aspect of this, I've had to learn and become the expert, and
Yes, yeah,
hence why Zion's Lighthouse was born.
yeah,
But so yeah, I done my own research and I looked into therapy because I tried lots of different things. I tried CBT, I tried hypnotherapy, I tried
yeah.
breathworks, I tried lots of different things.
What's EMDR? You mentioned EMDR. What's that short for?
So that's eye movement therapy. I can't remember the exact name. I did
Electromagnetic
write it down.
electro. We can search it up actually. I've got a web
It is.
browser here.
I'm sure I did make a note of it because I knew you'd ask me that question.
EMDR.
I'm eye movement something.
What is EMDR therapy?
Oh, where
It
is
is
it?
eye movement desensitization and reprocessing.
Yes, there you go.
What is that, Louisa? Shall I just
It's
read what it is?
amazing.
Shall I
Well,
just read
yeah,
what it
yeah,
says?
yeah. Go
So
on,
this
read
is
it.
what Google AI says. It says EMDR, eye movement desensitization and reprocessing therapy, is a structured psychotherapy that helps people process and recover from distressing memories, particularly those related to trauma. It involves focusing on a traumatic memory while also engaging in a form of bilateral stimulation, such as eye movements, taps, or sounds. This process helps the brain reprocess the memory, reducing its emotional intensity and allowing for new and more adaptive thoughts and feelings to emerge. Wow, never heard of it before 2 minutes ago. Amazing.
Ah, wow. I mean, I'd recommend it to anybody, if I'm honest with you. And this is somebody who's tried lots of different therapy, but I think it's really, really good, especially for those that struggle with talking therapy. And I
Mm.
think that is something that is, I mean, I'm making it, I'm throwing this out there. I've got nothing to back it up, but I do think within the Black community that there's more people who would struggle with talking therapies.
Well, let's talk about that. How do you think your experience as a Black woman differed or might have differed to the experience of any other nationality or race within the UK?
Well, the thing is, it's difficult. It's really difficult to say because the way things are done, it's done so subtle and it's institutionally embedded into the system. You don't always notice it. I know that I could have had better care. But the reason why I know that is because I have my podcast and I speak to a lot of bereaved parents. So I get to hear about their experiences and how they were treated. But I do genuinely think that when I went to see the midwife and I complained about being in pain, I wasn't taken seriously. And that's something you hear so often,
Yeah,
that they don't
absolutely.
take
You
us
do.
seriously for our pain. I was in labor. I was actually in labor. And she told me I had an onset of a urine infection and sent me home. I mean, I even showed her a picture that her words were, if I didn't know any better, I would say that was a show. Well, it was a show. And yes, you did know better because you're the qualified midwife.
That was her words. She said, "If I didn't know any better, inferring you're basically putting it on."
I don't know what she just didn't. I mean, she didn't even swab me. She told me to swab myself. I mean, I'm pretty sure she'd have swabbed me. She'd have seen my cervix had started to open and actually. But even regardless of any of that, the protocol says, and you can simply Google it on on the NHS website as well, and it will tell you the same thing. If at 22 weeks into your pregnancy you've got your bleeding or you've got cramps or anything like that, then you should be sent straight to delivery suite. She didn't send me to the delivery suite. She booked me an appointment with her the day after I spoke to her, and then sent me home telling me I had a urine infection.
Louisa, I literally just typed in Google just for the question, black care worse in the UK question mark, just to see. And it's come back and said, yes, available evidence suggests that care for Black people in the UK is worse in many areas due to issues like discrimination, lack of cultural awareness, and systemic failings. And this was the next bit was the interesting bit for me. It said, for example, and the first thing it said was Black women face significantly higher risks during pregnancy and childbirth. I mean, the first thing that it's gone to. The very, very first thing that is mentioned is pregnancy
Yeah,
and childbirth there.
yeah, oh yeah. I mean, it's hot topic at the moment we've actually got the data now. Well, we've had the data for years, to be honest with you, but people are actually taking it seriously. We've got people like the Motherhood Group and 5 Times More and Tommy's, and people are actually putting a spotlight on it now. And the government have admitted it. In September, they actually admitted institutional racism to be the cause of poor outcomes for Black people, as well as part of the cause, shall we say. But yeah, Black women are more than twice as likely to die during childbirth and shortly after compared to white women. And there's no other reason.
Sorry, hold on. I don't think we can just hear what you just said without a pause. You said Black women are more than twice as likely to die during childbirth than, did you say white women? I'm just making sure I heard that.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
So,
Black and brown women, Asian women are as well in that too. And then if you look into it more detail, obviously those in deprived areas as well are at disadvantage. But still, regardless of any of that, Black women are still more than twice as likely to die during labour or shortly after, within I think 28 days, than white women.
and does the data
and Black babies are twice as likely to be stillborn.
does the data give any answers as to why that might be? Is it socioeconomic factors? Is it just this system is not designed for the healthcare of Black people? What does the data tell you about why that might be?
Well, the data doesn't tell you because they don't ask those kind of questions. They've only just started asking these questions to get this data to see what's actually going on. But so this is the next step now. This is part of the government initiatives and things that they're doing, that we need to figure out what not. We have our own, as I think our community has our own opinion, but there's nothing official really to say. But there's a number of different factors involved in that. So for one, it's a postcode lottery. So depending on your hospital. So again, if you're living in a more deprived area, then you're going to get better treatment. And unfortunately, as we know in this economy, that predominantly people of colour are overrepresenting in the lower income areas.
Yeah.
And certain things like preeclampsia, high blood pressure, Black women are more prone to that, and that can cause baby loss, affect your baby as well. So there's other things, but they're not always they don't always tell you about those things, and I don't think they even look into it that much. So yeah, there's lots of, and again, it's and then there's a basic racism. There's in your, like, you can't deny it. It's they're racist. I mean, I look at my situation and I think, if I was white, would they have looked at my baby and thought that baby's worth saving?
Yeah. You wonder. You can't help but not wonder that question. In sadly, you can't help but not wonder that question, and we'll never know the answer to that. But it is I can see how that's a real question that would have gone through your mind during that time. Change the. No, please go ahead.
I was gonna say the disparities in maternity are awful. I mean, to be honest with you, a few years ago I did my own research, because I'm one of them people, I can't just take what people tell me. I need to check for myself, and I did my own research. And literally, I mean, I know we knew this anyway, but I know for a fact now that Black people are at a disadvantage in every aspect of life, and I mean literally in this country anyway, every aspect of life. From when you're at a disadvantage from the womb, what does that tell you? And that's facts.
You just, you kind of think of it as playing catch up all your life, but you're trying to play catch up with, one arm tied behind your back and, no running shoes. It's a completely different game. It's a completely different game, and worse so when it comes to actual life and death situations. Worse when it comes to life and death. It's
yeah. I mean, to shock you even more, 5 years ago, the statistics were Black women were 5 times more likely to die than white women.
What changed?
Campaigners, people raising awareness, advocates, people doing grassroots charities. I can't sit and say that I can name an NHS organisation that's done anything.
So here's the kind of the analytical side of me, which says, hold on a second, 5 years ago, it was 5 times as many Black and brown people die than white people during childbirth, right? Now it's twice as many.
Well,
Disgusting.
just
Di-
over. It's
Just
just
over.
over. So
Okay.
it's more than twice. It's not quite 3, I don't believe. But this is, again, the statistics are changing, and it
Yeah.
depends on where you get your statistics from and
Okay.
when those statistics were taken. And also what people don't realize is, because they keep, like, they like to sing on about how the statistics, they're coming down, and they are
I was
showing
about
that.
to say, statistically, that's a great improvement, right? In 5 years.
Yeah, yes, it is, but I'm not that naive to think that that is the actual real value of what's happening, because
Okay,
what they
fair
don't
point.
tell you is black women are having less babies now. Yeah, because they're
Through
scared.
choice? Through choice?
Yeah, I mean, there's the fear you might die. You're more than twice as likely to die. So
Oh, it's a
actually, I'm not going to have 4 kids. I'm going to have 2. You know, so they don't talk about those things. So yeah, and also we're educating ourselves. We're advocating for ourselves. We're empowering ourselves. And then, and there's more grassroots companies out there that are like Zion's Lighthouse, for example, that are supporting people, educating people, and advocating for people as well.
where I really want to know about Zion's Lighthouse. We're going to definitely come on to that. One slight question that came to my mind: did you ever hear about the Planned Parenthood kind of? What do you call it? Was it eugenics? The move in America to reduce the fertility of black women. Did you ever hear that story? I don't know if you've.
I
If you
think so, yes. And I feel like that's what they're doing without openly doing it. If we don't give as much care or support to a black pregnant woman, then we're reducing their population.
I'm gonna find. I'm actually gonna find the story of the lady who came up with the idea of Planned Parent. Margaret Sanger was her name. That might be an interesting. If you haven't heard about her, that might be an interesting one for you to research, Louisa. Margaret Sanger, who was a key figure in the whole Planned Parenthood thing, and she has been found on record to say that the idea is to essentially reduce the fertility and the birth rate specifically of black people in the United States. Go check out. Now,
I
I'm
think
not
I read
saying that's
this.
true. Yeah, I'm not saying that's absolutely true, but I did hear this, and I did hear this the other day, and it just came to mind while you were speaking. Look
Is
at
this Margaret Sanger?
Sanger. Yes, and she was the founder of Planned Parenthood, and the whole idea of Planned Parenthood is that I think they issue abortions in America. It's a company that issues abortions quite freely in America, from my understanding. Okay, so but I mean, go check it out and do
Were
do your
these
own.
the ones that were they sterilizing black women without their
I believe
consent?
so. I believe so. Yeah, they
Yeah,
were sterilized. They were
yeah. I've
sterilizing
read
black
about
women,
this.
and then providing abortions, etc., etc., with the intent of reducing the black population. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And I'm not suggesting that is happening here in the UK. It would be atrocious to think that it is, but at the same time, there's always this question at the back of your mind. There's always this question at the back of your mind. So I wonder if is that really true? I wonder if that could be happening here. And when you go through an experience like what you've been through, and you think that if they had just given my baby 2 more days of life on the scan, then things could be so different. These questions do arise. But I really applaud your bravery to actually stand out there now as a spokeswoman for this. Tell us about why you felt the kind of the pull to turn your pain into a story that's going to help other people.
Well, it's part of my healing, if I'm honest with you. Like, it helps me to help other people. But I got to the point where I was just surviving. For a long time, I was literally just surviving. And I wanted to live again. I wanted to start living again, and I needed something. So I remember, I think it was Zion's 2nd birthday. I can never remember. This is the thing, it's such a blur, because I had another baby quite soon after losing him. So
Lovely.
and obviously with COVID and everything else, it was a bit of a blur. I was also, for context, was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety as well after losing him.
I wonder why.
So, yeah. So I remember I felt like I needed to understand what was going on. So I basically have spent like the last 4 or 5 years researching grief and trauma. That was how I was helping myself manage it better, by learning about it. But the more I learned about it, the more I wanted to share with other people. And also, I've realized how misunderstood grief and baby loss was by lots of people.
Yeah.
So initially, I remember going to the cemetery, and I believe it was Zion's second birthday, and refusing to leave. I was like, I'm not leaving here until I can find some kind of positive from this situation.
Man.
And so the first thing was, he gave me my rainbow baby, Marley. He gave me his brother. Because
Beautiful.
if I hadn't lost Zion, I don't think I would have had another one.
Right.
So that on its own was precious. But I needed to. I've always, like I said, I've always worked in support. I've always wanted to help people. I've always done that. So, but I didn't have the same passion for the work that I was doing before. But I wanted to help people. I wanted to make change. I've always been a fighter for justice. I went to uni, I studied criminology and law because I wanted to be a barrister and change the world. So I've always been like that, you know. So I was like, I need to change these outcomes. I'd learned about all the disparities within maternity and the poor outcomes of people that look like us, and I was like, this is not okay. And I just started the complaints process with myself as well, and to see how hard that was. So I was just like, I need to do something, and I need to turn this pain into purpose, basically. So I started with a podcast, and that was born out of me wanting to tell my story. I felt really misunderstood, and I didn't think people got it. They still don't, and it's one of those things. And I don't wish it on anybody, but
And
unless you've experienced baby loss.
I tell you what, while you carry on, I think we've actually got a slide of your where we can find the podcast, so that anybody that's watching right now, they're going to be able to find your podcast, your Instagram. I think we've got it's on the screen right now. So just go ahead and read those out for us, please, Louisa, where people can find you as you continue to tell the story.
So I've got Zion's Lighthouse on Instagram, and then my podcast, Love, Life and Loss. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Louisa Hendrickson. And then I've got my website, zionslighthouse.co.uk.
Phenomenal, man. What are the stories you're hearing back from mothers who, or from mothers or fathers? We're going to come to the fathers in a second, but what are the stories you're hearing from people who listen to your podcast, who use your Instagram? What are they saying to you about how you're helping them?
I get really good feedback. I get the people that come on the podcast, they feel empowered, they feel validated. They've come into a space where they get to speak about their babies, because you'll be surprised that so many people don't have that option to speak about their babies. And it's a space where it's wanted. I want to hear about your babies. I'm genuinely interested in hearing about your babies. And then the feedback that they get from other people just validates them on top of that. And, you know, and it opens up doors for them as well. I think people underestimate the power of telling your story. But it was also educational. So I always say we can learn and heal together, because if you're supporting somebody, for example, who's just lost a baby, and let's be honest, nobody knows what to do in that situation. I didn't know what to do, and I still don't always know what to do, and I've lost a baby. So, you know, but this helps educate you, because by people telling their story, automatically they tell you what worked and what didn't work, what was helpful and what wasn't helpful. So that on its own helps people and educates people. And again, like I said, it starts the conversation. So it takes away that awkwardness. And I've had people come to me. So before I lost my son, my story is, in the space of 8 years, I was pregnant 7 times. I gave birth 4 times, and I got to take 3 babies home with me. So in between my 2 daughters, I had 3 miscarriages. And I just dealt with that in isolation, and I just didn't really talk about it.
Oh man, pause. What I mean, that is. I mean, how do you live through that experience? I want you to continue the story. 7 times, and you took 3 children home. Did I hear that correctly?
Yeah, so
Fantastic.
I mean, you just
Gosh.
have to salute my husband, to be honest with you, because he had to live with me all that time while I was highly hormonal.
Oh,
So
we're gonna talk about your husband. Don't worry, he's definitely a part of this story. Carry on, Louisa. Amazing. Carry on with your story.
I forgot where I was going
You were
with
saying,
this now.
I'm sorry, that was my fault. I
Oh yeah,
interrupted
no,
you,
I
but
remember now.
yeah,
So yeah, so I had three consecutive miscarriages. So again, in this country, they are hopefully going to change this, but at the moment, you have to have 3 consecutive miscarriages before they'll do any tests on you to see if anything's wrong or if there's anything causing these miscarriages. So I had to have my third, and then I was tested, and I was found to have the simple name for it, sticky blood syndrome, and I believe it's pronounced lupus anticollagen, I believe. Um, so which means I have to inject myself as soon as there's a heartbeat with the baby. I have to inject myself with blood thinners every day up until I give birth and for a few weeks after giving birth. So anyway, the reason why I bring this up is because I've had more than one person, actually. I've had a couple of people listen to me talk about that. And I always advise people now, challenge, advocate for yourself. Don't wait for that third miscarriage. Go back to your doctors and tell them, if you've had two, tell them, I want to be tested for this.
yeah.
I'm not waiting to my third. And I've had people do that. And then they've come back and they've said to me, guess what? I did that. And I went to my GP and I got tested. And now I've had a successful pregnancy and I've got a beautiful baby boy or a beautiful baby girl. And so that to me is just, it makes it all worthwhile.
Do you see that as being a superhero because you are literally saving lives? Have you
No, I don't.
have you
No, I don't see that as being a superhero at all. I'm just being a mum. I'm just, sharing my knowledge that I have of other people.
I think you're being a superhero by saving babies. If I may offer that to you, I think by doing that and somebody going out and getting the test, advocating for themselves, being prescribed medication that potentially saves them from another miscarriage, another heartache. That's superhero territory, Louisa. You should just get yourself a cape.
Thanks. I'll borrow my kids.
Yeah, lovely stuff. No, so good. So I want to talk a little bit more about Zion's Lighthouse. Do you have a mission statement, or do you have like a modus operandi? What is the real core of the business and what you aim to accomplish through Zion's Lighthouse?
So, I mean, I've given you my website details. I just want to put it out there. It is going to be updated. It does need updating. I put my mission and values on there. But ultimately, my aim and my mission in life is to educate and support people around grief and baby loss. But what I really want to do is I want to work with women in prisons. I want to work with everybody. If I'm honest with you, I want to work with everybody. I want to go into schools. I want to go into the NHS. I want to go into the workplace. I want to work with everybody. But what I'm really passionate about is working with women in prisons because there is nothing for them. And I've been researching it for the last 3 years now. And I have yet to find one single organisation that specifically works with women in prison that have suffered baby loss. And it's not just about, I think anybody that's listening that's experienced grief, it doesn't have to be baby loss, any type of grief. It's about how when we experience grief, it literally can take over our whole bodies. That we feel like we've got no control, and we can forget how to self-regulate, for
Man,
example. And lots of people often don't have that skill in the first place. Yeah, and it becomes more prevalent when you are going through grief that you don't know how to self-regulate. And so I'm not just trying to support people through their grief. I want to educate them about their grief so they can understand their grief better. That and in turn they learn to manage their grief better. They know what's happening to them is normal. That they're not going mad. Like even as as dark as suicidal thoughts. That's
mm,
normal. If you lose somebody that you love so much, it is normal for you to want to follow them. That is
mm,
normal. But so
mm,
many people will keep that hidden inside. And that's when it becomes dangerous when we don't talk about stuff because through the shame or through what people are going to think of them or, because we're not going to act it out.
right,
But those
right,
thoughts that I want to go with them is normal 9 times
man,
out of 10. Because it's so intense. The love you have for that person is so intense. And the way our brain works is that we can't accept, our brains don't allow us to accept the definitive that we're never going to see that person again. You could happily live knowing that your mum is in America for the past 20 years and you've never seen her in that 20 years and you haven't even spoken to her, you've probably spoken to her 5 times in that 20 years, you could happily live your life like that, and that's fine, because you know anytime you want to speak to her, you can.
She's there.
But as soon as I tell you you can never speak to her again, and suddenly it's the end of the world. But yet you've not spoken to her barely for 20 years and you've lived your life just fine, because it's the way our brains process things. We can't say, no, that's never going to happen again.
I tell you what,
Our brains can't process that.
This is amazingly useful for me right now, Louisa, suffering the loss of one of my 2 closest friends a couple of weeks ago, and just thinking to myself, my God, I'm never. I wrote the little tribute that's going to go in his funeral brochure today, and I looked at that, and part of it was like, I'm never ever going to see his name on ringing my phone again. I'm never gonna. It's gone. There was a time in our 40-year friendship where it wouldn't surprise me if there was a whole year past when we didn't speak. It wouldn't surprise me if it was 18 months. Recently, in the last 18 months, 2 years, we've been speaking every week. But the thought that, I'm never gonna see him again. Never. It's done. It's never, ever, ever gonna happen ever again. It's the brain struggles to grasp that. Really, really does struggle.
It does. It really does. So here's a little tip for you, Leon. So this is one of the reasons why Zion's Lighthouse was born for me, because our brains can't accept that. What we have to do to manage our grief better is we find a way to bring them into the future with us. So Zion's in my future now because of Zion's Lighthouse. So I get to talk about him all the time. So I've never actually had to fully let go of him.
Oh, nice idea. Really good. Really good. Yeah, I didn't love him that much. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I shouldn't. I hope. No.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know. Yeah, I'm kidding.
If you speak to him every week, so maybe you take a moment every week. Maybe you watched a program together that you liked or whatever. So you will continue watching that program even in his absence, because that's bringing you closer to him, being with him, sort of thing.
The beautiful thing is, just to talk about this situation just for 30 seconds longer, I've got a picture of us when we were kind of teenagers that I've always had in my office. It's always been there. So now I look at that exact same picture, and I hold it and I look at it, and it's like he's there still, he's there, but he's just not there anymore. But it's a very weird thing, grief. It's a very, very, very weird thing when you actually have to let go. I think part of the pain is the unexpected nature of grief. The not just the unexpected nature of somebody gone, but the unexpected nature of responsibilities that you now thrust upon you, which you didn't expect to be thrust upon you so soon, like making sure his son's okay, or making sure in your case that your husband's okay, your husband having to make sure that you're all right. This is not part of the journey you expected to be celebrating. Instead, you're having to care for one another in that situation. I think those are some of the reasons why I think grief is immensely, immensely challenging. But I would like to hear. I would like to hear about your husband. Tell me, how did he manage?
To fully answer that question, you'd have to ask him, if I'm honest with you. But yeah. I have my theories. He was amazing, and I'm not just saying that. He really was and still is, to be honest with you, because he didn't just have to deal with the grief of losing his son that he never got to meet alive either. But he then had to deal with me. Yeah. Because I was a wreck, an absolute wreck. And we had 2 other kids as well. My youngest daughter was only 2.5 at the time. And we were going through COVID, it was in lockdown. So I actually think that was a benefit for us. Because it meant that we could be together and we could be in isolation if we wanted to. But I was mute I was basically mute for the first couple of months. I barely spoke. I sighed every now and then. I did the things I had to do to survive. Like, if I didn't have my girls, I don't think I would have got out of bed again. So he did when we took turns, I would do the mornings and he would do the afternoons, like the parenting side of things. But he basically did everything, because I would do the parenting, but I did the physical act, but I was absent. Whereas he wasn't. He still made the kids laugh. He still played with them. He still did all the dad things. And then looked after me. Not but doing that, why not having anyone look after him? Because one thing I would always notice is that people would often come or ring up and they'd be say, the first thing they say is, "How is she?" Not "How are you?" I had one friend that asked him, "How are you?" Like, I know everyone's
Yeah.
asking, "How is she?" But how are you? Everybody just asked, "How is she?"
And what kind of
He
help
got
did
sidelined.
he? What kind of help did he have in terms of his friendship group or counseling? Was there any support that was available for him as
Counseling?
a black man?
And they say he's a black man. He didn't have counseling. He didn't even want me
That's
to
what I
have
mean.
counseling.
That's what I mean.
No, didn't
Just
do any of that
tough
stuff.
it out,
But
right?
he had his friends. He had his friends. He had
Yeah.
his mum. But again, I think he dealt with a lot of it in isolation. I think,
Mm.
I'm sure he would have a secret cry in the car and things, and you know, maybe once or twice he'd let me see that emotion, but otherwise he had to be he didn't have to be, but he believed he had to be strong for
Did he
everybody
ever talk?
else.
Did he ever talk to you about the pain that he was going through? I mean, and I ask this question as not only I'm enjoying this conversation because I'm listening to this not only as a father or as a parent, but also as a husband, and I know how we are. You know, I know how we are. So, did he ever talk to you about the pain that he was going through, or was he just focused on making sure that you were okay?
Not really. Yeah, more focused on making sure everybody's okay. Every now and then I might catch him at the right time and he might talk to me. It'd be more because I was probably having a breakdown, a meltdown. Because I said I was diagnosed with PTSD and anxiety. So I definitely could not self-regulate for a long time. For a long time, I felt numbness. And the only other feelings that I felt was sadness and anger. And so
Mm,
when I would
mm,
get angry, I got really angry, like disproportionately angry. And he had to deal with that. And a lot of the time he was patient, but he's a human being. So there'd be
mm,
times where he'd bite back, and then
mm.
those would be the times when it came out, like
Right,
when I would
right, right,
see,
right.
he was angry, and he still is. He didn't
Yeah.
get to see his son. He didn't get to meet his son, so he's still angry. If you ask him about that day now, he will get really angry because that's what he's never forgiven the NHS.
Boy, Louisa, I tell you what, man, I don't know, however, whoever knows my story, but in 2022, my son was critically ill in hospital with a life-threatening disease. Um, Thankfully, on our side, he came through absolutely fine after a bone marrow transplant. And in our scenario, in our situation, the NHS proved to be amazing. But I know that's not always the case. I know that's not always the case. And the thought of a father honestly, the thought of your husband, what he has to go through, it's heartbreaking for me as a man, heartbreaking for me as a parent. It's I really just wish him the best, and I hope he's able to kind of resolve those feelings of anger at some point. So please pass on all of our love. Everybody that's listening, everybody that's watching, just send him some good energy and some good love from us. Okay.
Thanks. No, honestly, he is uh he's amazing. And I haven't always said this, but he really is, and he looks after me and our family so much. Like, even when I'm doing all this stuff, I'll get so involved in what I'm doing, I don't even always stop to eat. I'll look up and he's got a plate of food there for me, making
Amazing.
sure that I'm eating and making sure that I'm looking after myself. And it's grief is such a grief is so baby loss especially is so complicated, but
Yeah.
we all grieve at different times, and in different ways. So just because we're together doesn't mean we're going to grieve in the same way.
Correct. Yeah.
We both lost a child, but our experience of losing that child was very different from each other. So we wasn't always on the same page at the same time. But in
Yes.
this last few years, we are so much stronger for it. But it doesn't always work like that for a lot of families. Unfortunately, grief can split up a lot of families.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I can see this question, and I really want to answer it. how to make it safer for Black women to speak up about
Oh,
their pain and concerns in hospital. I
amazing.
think it's really important that I address this. I think anyone that's listening, it's really important we shouldn't have to do this, unfortunately, but I find it's the best way to combat it is to educate ourselves. Knowledge is power. So do some research, find out about your pregnancy. If there are any concerns, find out what they are, learn the terminology. Doctors don't like it when you use their terminology and you
Well
throw it back in their face, because it shocks them and it makes them stand up. We can advocate for ourselves, we can challenge. Know your rights. We all have the right to choose. So again, just Google the right to choose. There's documents on it. We can choose to have a second opinion. We can choose where we have our babies. We can choose what type of treatment we have. We have a say. They don't always tell you that, but we do have a say. So educate yourself and challenge them, and do not feel a way to challenge. I genuinely believe my rainbow baby is here today because I educated myself and I challenged. I advocated for myself. There was no way I was going to take their lead ever again. And I didn't. So I learned about what I needed to learn, and I told them what they needed to do.
There's such a brilliant answer to that question. Thank you for that at Just Talk Black for posting that question up there. This is a brilliant question, and we have a few more to go through. I've got a few more questions I want to go at quick fire, but before we go into the quick fire questions, we do have a phone line. So for anybody that's watching live and wants to have a conversation to Louisa, then you can jump on the phone line, which is coming up on your screens any second now. That phone number is 07471 539 533. Okay, I'll say it again. 07471 539 533. So if you pick up the phone now, then you're going to get through and you're going to be able to ask Louisa questions directly about her experience. Right, the line is open now for anybody that wants to dial in and ask a question. Okay, so Louisa, I'll tell you what I'd like to do right now. There's so many questions that I could ask you. I'm going to go through and just pick out a few. They may seem a little bit random, but I'm going to go and pick out a few questions, and let's give us your thoughts on this. Okay, what are the main barriers that Black families face when grieving?
I think that's a difficult question to answer because everyone's an individual, and they keep throwing around this saying about being culturally sensitive, but I think that's too adventurous to even expect anyone to be like that, because within cultures we practice different things. I think one of the things that stands out quite a lot for a lot of the women I speak to, and men, is the stigma that's attached to counselling and seeking help, speaking out about our problems. House business is house business. It should be kept indoors. Well, actually, something as big as baby loss, you can't manage by yourself. And if there's trauma involved, you're going to need help. You're going to need support. And there is no shame in that. I think we're taught to just keep it moving, be strong, keep it moving. Like, that's life, toughen up. And actually, that in the long run does you no good. I live my life like that. I wore the strong Black woman with a crown. I wore that with pride for many years until I lost my son. And I could no longer do that because the grief, the trauma was so intense. It resurfaced all of my past trauma that I'd been burying for years, that I just kept it moving through.
Tell us about
I
that.
to face it.
Tell us about that specific bit. Tell us about that specific bit that it buried all of the trauma that you from the past that you hadn't chosen to face. So how does it show up in your body and how does trauma show up in your body and in your mind, or how did it show up in your circumstance?
Well, for me, at the very beginning, I had flashbacks. I often joke with my husband and say, like, now I know how the soldiers feel, because I had such intense flashbacks that I would try not to sleep because I didn't want to close my eyes. I could hear myself. Because when I pushed my son out, because I knew that was going to be the push that pushed him out, I cried out, and it was an actual cry, because I knew I was pushing him out for him to die. So I cried, and for a long time, I could hear that cry as if somebody else was in the room with me crying. It wasn't a memory. It was as if somebody else was in the room crying. That's what it sounded like. And that's that's how I knew I had PTSD. And that's how I was diagnosed, because it was when I heard that cry, it was like an external cry rather than internal.
You could
But
hear,
I've had lots of different
you
things
could
that happen.
actually hear it out loud.
Yeah, like I could, like somebody else was in the room crying. That's what it would sound like. Yeah. So it
Wow.
wasn't, like I say, it wasn't a memory, although it was, but it didn't feel like that. It felt like, I could smell him. I always say he smelled like the seaside. And for a very long time, I could smell him. I could even hear a baby crying. And I didn't tell anybody for years about that, because I thought they're going to think I'm mad. They're going to lock me up. But actually, when I did my research, and I realized actually that's quite common for people who've lost a baby to hear a baby cry. But it's also shown up with me physically. So one of the things I did, which I always say saved my life, was yoga. I had such bad anxiety, my hands would shake, and no matter what I did, I couldn't stop it. And I used to hate that. I hated it so much. It frustrated me so much. And yoga was the only thing that helped me with my anxiety. It taught me to be present, to reconnect with my body, and to be in tune with my body. But then I've had bad skin. So I've got a physiotherapist for nearly every part of my body at the minute. And I know that's stress related. I had really bad skin on my hands for a couple of years. I've healed myself in
Very
the
good.
end, but
Very good.
it was so bad it would hurt me to tie my hair up.
Wow.
I lost loads of weight. My relationship with food changed. I mean, I did get hyperemesis when I was pregnant with my rainbow baby as well, so that contributed to that. But it's impacted me in so many ways. For me, the biggest thing is my brain. My brain has been rewired, and trauma does that. There's science behind it. Trauma rewires your brain, and I'm in the process of rewiring it back to how I want it. But like, I can't remember things like I used to.
Hold on. You said something that's really interesting to me right now. I'm reading an amazing book called the book is by Joe Dispenza, and it's called Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. It talks about rewiring your brain. So how are you rewiring your brain? I think you're absolutely right. Trauma rewires the brain in one way. Actually, you've said that in the book as I'm listening to it. But what are you doing now to acknowledge that and rewire it back in the way that you want it to be?
So the EMDR therapy had a lot to do with that. So that's revisiting the trauma and then reframing it. So, for example, I'll give you an example. I look at so I've been dealing with a complaint in regards to my son for 4 years now, over 4 years, coming up 5. And as frustrating as it is, and as angry as it makes me, as much as it triggers me, I've reframed that now. Instead of thinking of the NHS as just fully taking the mick out of me and my family and treating me in the way that they have, with no respect, no decency, nothing. They don't care. There's no value for my son's life or anything like that. I've reframed that now, and actually, yes, it's not nice what I've gone through, but as a result of that, I have now learned so much information. I have educated myself fully within the complaint system that I am almost an expert in a lot of different areas. So now I can use that in my business to help other parents, to advocate for other parents, to affect change. So I'm working with the government at the minute, Baroness Amos, with the maternity and neonate review. And that's one of the things I'm making them focus on. Look at the complaints procedure, because for one, if it's not written down, it didn't happen. But two, why are you making it so difficult for bereaved parents to be able to make a complaint? And we need the complaints because we're never going to learn without them. So why are we making it so difficult? So that's there. I've reframed that. I'm not feeling sorry for myself anymore. I'm empowered because yes, you may have made my life difficult, but guess what? I'm about to make yours even more difficult.
All right. Okay. Fueled by competition, almost, Louisa. Fueled by competition in a way.
Yeah, well, you can say I've learned a lot because of it. So I'm using that now as a positive.
Yeah, well done. Now, I know you've used the phrase equitable bereavement before. So what is that? What's equitable bereavement?
It's just fair treatment for everybody. It doesn't mean that because you look like me, you're going to get poorer outcomes than the white lady next to me. Why? It's about treating people fairly and equally, but equally to them. It's not about having a blanket that everybody fits into that box, because it doesn't work like that. Black women are prone to higher blood pressure or prone to preeclampsia more. So you need to tailor your care to that, because you would if it was a white person. If the white person was prone to this or this was happening, you would tailor your care to them. So do the same. And it's things like, you go to your midwife appointment and they ask you things like, they ask the white lady, how is dad? They ask the black lady, is dad still around?
I find it amazing. I find it amazing when I took my daughter to the hospital for some minor thing in, kind of the walk-in center, and they asked the daughter, "Is this your dad?" I mean, I don't know I couldn't believe it. I was just like, would you do that if it was the mother? I don't know if they would. I don't know. I really don't know if they would, but I was shocked, and I didn't feel that was equitable, right? Because I'm there sitting in a hospital with this girl. I mean, I'm either going to be her uncle or her dad, right? I mean, does it really matter? But I do understand what you mean about equitable treatment. I didn't feel like that was a necessary question. I didn't feel like that was equitable,
Yeah.
but maybe that's the way the system is right now. I don't know. I'd like
Well,
to
the
hear.
system wasn't created for people like us.
You really want to get me started on that, on Eurocentric medicine, which is not tested or designed on bodies like ours. It's not for us. It really is not
Well,
it's not for us.
They have used our bodies to experiment on, haven't they? This is the worst thing. Women, especially women within gynae, they've used black women bodies to experiment on over the years, but yet then they treat us in the way that they do. It's
But
so bizarre.
that's not a medicine that's designed to cure, is it? The experiments that they've done on black women's bodies were what remind me what they were. I did read the study about this some time ago, but remind me what
Well, it
those
was all to
studies.
do around with gynae, wasn't it? I don't know everything exactly, but they were doing experiments to have a look at the lady parts, basically, and how they can mess around with them or not mess around with them, and how they work and how they don't work. It was a science experiment.
That's not medicine. That's not medicine. That's experimentation, right? The medicine is not, the European Eurocentric medicine is really not designed for our genome in every aspect. In every aspect.
Yeah,
But
it isn't,
still,
and they also they know half of this stuff as well, and they don't tell you. So, like my husband, he's got high blood pressure, and the first lot of tablets they give him, which they give everybody else, they are no good for black people, but they don't tell you that. You have to do your own research, and then you're like, actually, no, these are not good for me. You need to change them, and they will. And when you explain to them, they're not recommended for black people. They're, oh yeah, well, okay, yeah, you're right. But they still give it to you in the first hand. So yeah, the whole system. I used to say it's broken. I don't say that anymore, because I realize it's not broken. It's doing exactly what it's supposed to do. It was never designed for people like us. And to the point that it's so obvious that only this year, I believe it is, that for midwives, when they check babies for jaundice, and jaundice can be very, very dangerous for babies if it goes undiagnosed, that they only ever use white babies as examples when they're teaching the midwives at schools. Only this year has somebody introduced a paper that talks about what jaundice looks like in black and brown babiys. So they literally had a check. They still do have a checklist that says, is the baby pink, blue, or purple, or something like that? I mean, a black baby's never going to be pink. And that's still to this day on their checklist. So there's lots of people that do lots of work, and the aim is to try and decolonize the system and the training. It's about the education from university. What are we training these midwives? How? Because it's not even that they want to be racist. Then they're not competent. They're not given the tools to be anything else.
Yeah, it's what they learned. I mean, they've just been brought up in a system that is institutionally racist. That's what the term means. It's just not designed for us, and you in a way you can't really blame them, because they're just being taught in a system that is, it's not really designed for us, and so they end up executing what they've been taught, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really help us. It's
Yeah,
difficult.
no. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the picture that's going around social media at the moment of the woman. Well, it's a cartoon picture, but of the baby in the womb, and it's a black one. It's a picture of a black baby in the womb, and the caption is, "This is how racist our country is. I never realised until I saw the picture that I've never seen a picture of a black baby in a black womb."
I
And
haven't seen
you
that one.
haven't.
Now I need to search it. Black baby, black womb. I will definitely look at that. It's amazing. Even the plasters, when you think about it, even plasters are pink. Yeah, plasters are pink. Did you ever see the film, or did you ever read the book Noughts and Crosses by I think it's Mallory Blackman? Have you ever seen the
No.
film? I mean, check that out. I found it so enlightening. All the roles are reversed, even to the point where the plasters that they use for cuts are brown rather than pink, and it's so shocking to watch that. I watched it on TV rather than reading the book. It's so shocking to see how all the roles are reversed when the society is dominated by black people versus when the society is dominated by white people. It's a very, very, very interesting watch. It's called Noughts and Crosses. I think it's
Oh,
Mallory.
I'll have to have a look. But this is the thing. This is what baffles me, because we in this country they call us the minority, but we're the global majority.
Correct. I found the picture. I wonder if I don't know if a producer can actually see if I can send this image. I would love us to be able. I don't know if we can, but I'm going to see if we can actually get this image of black baby in a black womb up on the screen. Hold on one second. I'm going to send this right now. See if we can actually get that on the screen at some point or another. It is there.
Have you
Okay.
seen one before?
No, I'm looking at it. I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
This is the
Honestly,
thing, and that's just a subtle thing, and that's what. So every school book that you have has a
yes,
white womb and a white
absolutely
baby.
right. Absolutely. Looking at it now, it's amazing. It's actually quite amazing looking at it, and it feels right. It feels like, yeah, that's normal. It feels normal for us. I've got a couple more questions for you, Louisa. If we do manage to get that image on the screen, then just post it up. No problem. We'll come back to that story afterwards. I've got a couple other questions for you, Louisa, here, which are around the community and churches and faith groups, right? So what can the Black community do to break the silence around baby loss? And what do you think churches, mosques, and faith groups could do to support grieving parents? So it's two questions in one. I'll read those again for you. What can the Black community do to break the silence around baby loss? And what could churches, mosques, and faith groups do better to support grieving parents?
Okay, I think with the Black community, I think we're very good at supporting each other around grief. Anyway, I mean, obviously, I am generalizing here. There's, like I said, there's cultures within cultures.
Yes.
I'm of Jamaican heritage, and my family, when someone dies, we go around the house every single day until that funeral. We take food, we take drink, we look after them. That person whose household it is doesn't have to do anything until the funeral, at least. We take over, sort of
Yeah.
thing. But not everybody wants that, and especially when it comes to baby loss. So I think it's always good to help people, the practicalities of grief.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I call them. So
Yeah.
food, water, if they've got children, maybe try and take the other children out, entertain them for them, even doing
Mm-hmm.
housework. Those practical things are part of life that when you're grieving, you have no desire whatsoever to do, but
Yes.
they still need to be done.
Right.
Support them through that, because the reality is you cannot take away someone's pain. That is the reality. Whether it's a baby, whether it's a mother, whether it's a cousin, it's a sister, when you love that person, you're gonna feel it and you're gonna grieve them, and that is okay, and it's
Yeah.
okay to sit in that. Don't try to fix people, because you can't. No matter what you say or do, you can't, unless you're going to bring that person back for them, which you can't do that. You
Yeah.
can't. So I would always strongly say that. Do not try to fix people. They are not broken. Just sit with them. Sit in the uncomfortable with them. Ask
Mm.
them, What can I do for you? Because I'll tell you what not to do. The biggest thing, like, do not do anything that starts with at least. Don't do it. If you say, at least you can have another one, or at least you've already got 2 children, or at least, no, there's never at least to when you lose a child. Don't ever say that. And the old saying is that, you know, time heals all wounds, or everything happens for a reason. That, you know, this is part of God's plan. They're very typical things you hear within our community. Again,
Yeah.
when it comes to baby loss, nobody wants to hear that, because you can never tell me why God found it fit to take my child from me and make me bury my child with my father. So don't
Man.
tell me this is God's plan, because if that's God's plan, he doesn't like me. Yeah,
Mm.
that, you know what I mean? That's the thought
Yeah.
process.
Right.
So
Right.
don't do that. Practicalities is always helpful, but say to people, because no one knows what to do, so just say, look, I'm here for you. This is really, really rubbish, but I'm here and I'm not going anywhere. I'm just going to sit with you. If you want me to sit in silence, I'll sit in silence. If you want to talk, let's talk. Did you name your baby? That's always a good start. Did you
Yeah.
name your baby? What's your baby's name?
Yes.
Do you want to talk about it? Some people
Very.
don't.
Yeah, very good. It's all, I think it's always hard to know what to say in a situation of grief. The words are just like you know, you don't know what to offer. You know, it's not like you said, you can't bring them back, you can't take away the grief. It's like, what can I do for you? So I think that's some really, really, really good advice there as well. What about the church and mosques, faith groups? What can they do better in terms of, or what would your advice be to them in terms of helping people through the grieving process?
I think it's the same, to be honest with you.
Mm.
Again, give people space, allow them to sit in their grief. There's no timeline on grief, and that's another thing. People think, oh, it's been 6 months, or it's been a year, it's 2 years. You should be fine now. No, no, no. There's no timeline on grief. We just
Yeah.
learn to live with it. That's what happens. So there could be a day where I'm breaking down, crying my eyes out because it's my son's anniversary. You don't know that, but I do, or you know what I mean? So
Mm.
allow people space, give people space to grieve in their own way, at their own pace as well. Don't
Very.
rush people through it, because I think sometimes people like the church and stuff. It depends, because some of them, the people who lead, in theory, you like to think that they are very patient and they know the right things to say and right things to do. But I think sometimes as a community, we think that after a certain amount of time, right, come on now, sort yourself out. Let's get yourself back to get
Yeah.
back to life now. Come on. Well, not everyone's always able to do that, especially when it comes to baby loss. So just allow them the space, but also give them permission to talk about it if they want to. Let
Yeah.
them know that it's welcomed. Because again, if it was an adult or even a child, an older child, people would speak their name and people
Yeah.
would ask about them and people would share their memories. So do
Yes.
the same with a baby. Okay, you're not going to have memories to share, but you can ask that person, would you like to talk about your child? Did you
Very,
name your child?
very good
Would you
question.
like to pray for your child? Or we
Mm.
are praying for your child.
Yeah.
Include it as part of the service. You'd normally do that when someone dies that
Hmm.
attends a church. You talk about them in the service. So
Yeah.
ask
Did,
them, would
did
you like us to talk about them?
did faith play any part in your own healing journey, or did you find it just a completely a different way to grieve and heal?
Faith, I struggled with faith. My relationship with faith with God has been a bit compromised since losing my son. I was always I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I'm very spiritual. And like I said earlier, I lost my dad when I was 6 years old. So I've always believed in God. I've always believed in heaven and hell. And when I lost my son, I just thought, what kind of God are you? You took my dad from me when I was 6, and now you're taking my firstborn son? Mm-mm. So I struggled. I still struggle now, to be honest with you,
Mm.
because I'm just like, why? Why have you thrown this onto me? I've not had an easy life, you know. In between that, I've had lots of other things happen to me as well. So why are you punishing me in a way? So I had to steer away from that a little bit. And when I found yoga, I started to look into Buddhism.
Hmm.
And from what I've looked into, they believe that we all have the power of God within us as
Hmm.
individuals. We just
Yeah.
need to learn to tap into that. And
Yeah.
I like that. I like that idea. That way I
Buddhism.
can't,
Go
yeah, I
ahead. Go
can't, then
ahead.
obviously I feel like I can't blame anybody else for anything. It's, we have that power within us,
Yes.
and we need to learn to tap into that. And so I do believe in the universe, and I do
Hmm.
believe that the universe gives us what we need when we need it. So I do have faith. I do still have faith. I'm just
Yep.
not quite sure what in at the
What
moment.
direction? Yeah. Do you know what?
Yeah,
I
but
find it
I
so
do
interesting.
have faith. But
I,
I'm still angry with God.
I also spent a little time looking at Buddhism. I think it's a very, very interesting approach to faith. The whole idea of, um, balancing cravings and aversions, the whole idea of everything changing all of the time, God being within you. I think that's very interesting. And interestingly enough, as well, Christianity says that the kingdom of God is within you as well. So I think any religion is actually saying, any religion that says that God is a part of you and that's inside of you, I think is something. How do you say this the right way? Because I come from a Christian background. I think any religion that says that God is inside of you has got something right, not necessarily anything right, everything right, but it's definitely got something right. Buddhism's got some really, really interesting traits as well. So I'm glad that you found some peace in that. I'm really glad that you're able to find some peace in that as well. I'll tell you a very quick story before we start to wrap it up. I did a meditation called Vipassana. I don't know if you've ever heard of Vipassana meditation. 10 days, no talking, no writing.
Oh, yes, I have heard of that. You did that.
Oh, I did it twice.
Oh,
Louisa.
wow.
No talking, no writing, no books, no magazines, no radio, no phones, nothing. Complete silence with everybody around you for 9.5 days. Amazing, amazing. I keep talking about it. I think I spoke about it last time I was on this podcast. It was completely phenomenal. It's called Vipassana, Vipassana. It's got its Buddhist origins, but it's like washing your mind. That's the best way I always describe it that way. It's like a nice shower for your mind. It's completely phenomenal. Highly recommended, especially if you have got some leanings towards Buddhism or experience with Buddhism. I think you'd love it. 10 days.
Mm. Oh, I'll have
Complete
a look.
silence.
I mean, I don't know if I have that luxury with my children, but
Yes.
I do love meditation. I still love doing my yoga. I love all of that stuff. I just not long come back from Thailand, and I went and visited all the temples when I was out there, and I absolutely
Beautiful.
loved it. There's just something about it. You just feel peaceful when you're there and you're around these people. And it
Yeah.
helps me
Beautiful.
find clarity. That's how I regulate now. That's how movement. I'm a very very big fan of movement. I'm very big promoter. So as part of the work we do at Zion's Lighthouse, we incorporate movement into the work that we do. I have a therapist who medicine is movement therapist.
Beautiful.
And yeah, it is so much science behind it. But I always think about those people that struggle to use their words.
You're doing an amazing job, Louisa. Now, I've got one personal question for you. When, I'm assuming, I'm making an assumption here, but when are we going to see a book from Louisa Hendrickson?
Oh, I'm not. I mean, I won't be writing a book, but I am actually going to be featured in a book.
Yeah.
Some lady is writing a book about baby loss, and she asked me to write a chapter. So I've done that. I'm not sure when the book's going to come out, but I have contributed a chapter towards a book. But
Well,
at the minute, I've got so many things that I want to do in regards to Zion's Lighthouse. In regards to, like I said, I want to work in the prisons. I want to get into schools. I wanted to
yeah.
get into NHS. I want to change the world.
I love the energy. Absolutely love that energy. Give us the last message for everybody that is listening today. Maybe a message for people that have suffered grief or loss. Maybe a message for somebody who has experienced a poor experience in the NHS. Just what's your final message, and then we'll put up
Lee,
your
1
reply.
minute. Can
Yeah.
I ask a quick question? So,
Yeah. Yeah.
this is the host, actually, DJ Purpose as well. I want to ask you, Louisa, if someone was looking to start a company like yours, how would they do it? Could they come to you? Because I know there's other women out there who's gone through exactly the same thing, what you've gone through and experienced, but they might be a bit lost of how do you start a company like yours as well? Because I think that's important, because we need more like yourself out there to help Black women.
The honest answer is I have no idea. I am just winging it until I make it, if I'm honest with you. No, honestly, I'm still in the process myself of starting up. I have just been saying yes to everything. And I've been networking with as many people as I can and doing as much work as I can do to build up my portfolio. So I can show that I've worked with this organization, I've worked with this organization, and I've built up testimonies from those people as well. And networking is really important, I think. It's opened doors for me, and it's got me seats at tables that I didn't think I would normally get. So I think that for me has been the biggest thing for me. But getting organized and knowing what you want to do. So look at your mission and your values to start with. Figure that out first, and that should then lead you to where you need to go, because everything else follows from that. If you know your mission and you know your values, you know what you're working with when you're going to that next step. So it all depends on what you want to do. When it comes to like a product, I can do that. I know how to sell a product. I can do the maths. I can do all of that. This is an actual physical product. This is a service. So I found this more difficult to try and navigate because I'm offering a service. But for me, I'm just been networking and making sure, like I say, I get myself in front of the right people, and I'm just talking and talking. Social media is a good tool as well if you can manage it. I hate social media, I'm not going to lie, but I do use it. That's a good tool as well to build reputations. But yeah, it's just about networking is one of the keys, because unfortunately it's not always what you know, it's who you know.
Okay. And just a quick question as well. On your services, what do you offer on your services, just in case people are coming in late? So what's sort of the Zion, what do you offer as a service?
So we're a consultancy company, so we offer a few different packages. So I can come into a workplace or organisation and work with the organisation onto how to support their staff through grief, and educate them as well around grief, and make sure they're trauma informed. I have different packages, so some of them can be very simple and basic, but some of them are it's all bespoke. So I'll come in, I can look at policies and procedures, I can do workshops with the staff, I can give you personalised feedback as well from your staff and help you unpack that and incorporate that into your policies and procedures and how you then work with them. And I'm an ED&I champion. So I've worked with a few charities to help them become more diverse and more accessible, because, as I said earlier, Black people are more prone or more likely to have bad outcomes in this sector, but yet least likely to access support. So we've got lots of charities out there, but there's not many Black people accessing them. So I help these charities find those hard to reach people and encourage them and get the people in the door to work with them. I can also I do public speaking as well. So if you have a conference or anything like that, I can do public speaking. I can speak on lots of different topics: maternity, mental health, disparities, ED&I. There's lots of things. I will be updating my website with all of this on there soon as well, and there is a little blurb on there at the moment of what ED&I, I do. Please? So equality, diversity and inclusion. So I just make sure that it's not just about making sure that they're supporting Black people. It's not just about that. It's about those hard to reach communities, and it's also looking at some of their handouts or the work that they use. Is it accessible for people? Is it offered in different languages, for example? Is it are they thinking about people who are neurodiverse? Is the font okay for everybody to read? Should we look at the change in the color of the paper to make it more accessible for other people? It's those sorts of things as well. It's not just about are we serving Black people as well. It's are we serving our community, everybody, making it accessible for everybody, and to be trauma informed. So I will look at policies and procedures, I'll look at practices and guidelines and make sure that it's all trauma informed. And that can be something as simple as giving somebody a safe space, which could easily be a toilet that they have access to, but that's private to them. It can be something so simple and basic, but we don't always think of them. And especially if it's not something that serves you might not think of it. So I help you think outside the box.
Okay. And also, is there charities for Black women who are going through that bereavement and, might want to talk to someone? Because I hear a lot of Black women also say, they're going through the stage and then they're given a charity who can help them, but it's not a person who looks like them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that does often happen. I mean, there are some charities at the moment that are dedicated. They've actually got specific helplines for Black and brown women. But the one I'm going to shout out, who I think is out there doing amazing work, and they are unapologetically there just to support Black families, is Ebony Bonds. They're amazing. They're doing amazing work. They have a helpline that's open 24/7. It's all the time, including over Christmas and holidays, and they are great. They are parents of lived experience. So, and that's their mission, to support black and brown families. But people like Tommy's and Sands, the big companies, they have dedicated helplines, but they won't be as personal.
Thanks for that. Sorry, Lee. You can ask the question.
No, it's cool, bro. No, they're very, very good and very, very useful questions. So I think we'll just go back to the last thing as we begin to wrap up, Louisa. So again, just give us that final message to people who have maybe been through the type of heartbreaking situation that you've been through with Zion, and also for individuals who may have had a poor experience within the NHS. What's your final message to them?
Okay. Well, I'd always say be kind to yourself. Like, that is always my message to everybody. Be kind to yourself. Life is hard. Grief is hard. Be kind to yourself. Allow yourself to grieve. Give yourself that space. I think we try to fight it. All you're doing is prolonging it for another day. So just give yourself the space to grieve and be kind to yourself. And what was that last bit you asked me?
About anybody that may have experienced a poor health experience with the NHS.
And with that, I say this loosely because something I feel strongly about, but I know that it's not an easy task to ask of people. But I do think that if you feel like something has gone wrong, something should have been done better, mistakes have been made, because unfortunately, there are situations where no matter what anyone does, the outcome's going to be the same. That baby's not going to survive. That is inevitable. But there are a lot of avoidable deaths happening as well. So, and if you're one of those people where you believe it to be an avoidable death, I strongly urge you to challenge. Make that complaint. Even if you don't have the strength to do it yourself, there are advocacy companies out there that will support you to do that. So, and ask your hospital, ask your local hospital about it. They should be able to direct you to these people. PALS is the first point of call. Contact PALS, because if it's not written down, it didn't happen. And for us to get a true picture of what's going on, more people need to make complaints. But I understand why they're not, because it's so hard. And when when you're bereaved, everything's hard. Getting out of bed in the morning is hard. So if you've got to sit and write a complaint or read a 20-page document, that's going to be hard. I know it is. But do what you can in regards to that, because if things aren't written down and if people aren't held accountable, they will never learn and will never affect change properly in the way we want.
That's an amazing message. You are indeed going to change the world, Louisa. It's been a real pleasure talking to you. Can you just tell everybody again where they can find you with Instagram, YouTube, podcast? Just tell us again where everyone can find you, please.
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and Zion's Lighthouse and Love, Life and Loss podcast. And then I'm on LinkedIn, Louisa Hendrickson. I'm also on TikTok actually as well, Louisa Hendrickson. And then zionslighthouse.co.uk. The website will be updated in the new year.
Fantastic stuff. It's been an amazing pleasure speaking with you, Louisa. Like I said, you are going to change the world, and I continue doing all the very, very best of luck for your work with Zion's Lighthouse and in everything you do next. It's been a great pleasure speaking with you.
Louisa,
Thank you.
I want to ask you the most famous question of the Just Talk Black show. Before you do go, if you could host a table with any one Black person, living or past, who would you invite and why?
Oh, any one Black person. The first person that came to my head was Maya Angelou. I just think she is such an inspirational person, and I love I mean, I quote her quite often. I love the saying, until you do better until you do what you can until you know better, and then once you know, well, it's not the exact words, but once you know better, you do better. And I often say that to people. I just think she's so poetic, but so knowledgeable, and everything she said is still so relevant today. And yeah, I just think, yeah, if I could be remembered in any way slightly like her, I would be like super proud.
Wow. I just want to thank you both for, absolutely brilliant show. I'm in the background just listening, and it is I'm telling you, I've learned so much today. And thank you, Louisa, and thank you, Leon, for, especially Leon, what a host. Come on. And you need to get your podcast. You really do.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. You keep telling me, bro. You keep telling me. I'm going to do it at some point or another. I will.
I'm putting that out there. This guy needs to have a podcast. Come on, Lee. Definitely good. And Louisa, come on. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely.
I want to read a book, Louisa. I want a book from you. Honestly, I know you don't want it. I want a book from you. That book, and believe it or not, a book goes a huge way to networking and to opening doors for you before you even appear. So you've got to write a book, and it's not as hard as you think. You got ChatGPT nowadays. There's loads of stuff you can do to write a book. If you need a contact to help you, let me know. I've got someone who can help you get that done.
Definitely.
Thank you.
That is very important to write a book. I really do really say to you, get that book, because that's knowledge. And that knowledge could be passed on through so much people worldwide by having that book and the knowledge. Even when you were talking about when you basically go to a doctor and challenging a doctor and doing your research and learning words and come on, we don't even think about that sometimes, of, okay, we're having a baby now, the doctor's going to take care of everything. We don't think like that. But something like your book, and you're putting that in your book, and these pregnant women are reading these, it's knowledge.
You need a book, Louisa.
You need a book. You definitely need a book.
Yeah, it's true. It's so sad that we have to even do this. Like, we should be able to go to the hospital, and we should be able to trust them to look after us. But unfortunately, it's not the way for us in this country. So I always say knowledge is power, and I teach my kids the same thing. I always say it's okay to challenge. It's about how we challenge, which is key, but it's always okay to challenge.
Yeah, definitely. But you got to look at it this way as well. For many, many years, we've been writing down stuff and passing on knowledge that way. From writing on the walls and different sort of things that we've been writing on and passing down that knowledge. And that's what you're going to be doing when you're writing a book, passing that knowledge. And also saving a life. Saving a life.
Yeah. I'll look into it. I mean, I used to journal quite a lot when I lost my son. So I've got lots of, what's the word? I don't know.
Yeah.
Tools, kits.
You got notes. You got thoughts written down, right? You got lots of stuff written down.
Yeah.
That was in the moment as well, it was raw in the moment.
Oh,
I did video diaries as well at the time.
Well, you got the contents there. Definitely, you've already written one chapter for somebody else's book. You know how to do it.
Yeah. But thank you guys for doing the show for me. And Louisa, thank you again. Leon, thank you. You're a star. I'm gonna get in contact with you both as well. But Louisa, I'm gonna have to definitely interview you for next year. Come on, I'm gonna have to do it. Definitely have to do it. A second time interview. That was powerful and amazing. And Leon, I have to get you back on the show again, mate. So the hosting's there. But thank you both for that. For today. Really do appreciate you guys. Thank you. And that's it, guys. That's it for the Just Talk Black show for today. To remember, Monday we are here. If I can bring it up, this will be Monday at 7:30. We are going live at 7:30 on Monday. Black parenting in the UK. So I will be passing this around. It will be on my social media as well. I am going to try to bring my social media up. So this is where you can find me and find the company also. So you can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. You have my phone number there. And the website is launching next week, guys. So the website will be launching next week. But also you do have the phone number there, which you can take a screenshot of these, guys. If you are a Black-owned business, or you even have a testimony and you would like to be a guest on the Just Talk Black show, That's all you have to do, guys, is phone this number. We'll send you out a form. When you fill out the form, we do a 5 to 10 minute test of testing your internet and your webcam. It's making sure it's okay. And then we just book in for a date. And that is how simple it is, guys. So you could be the next guest on the Just Talk Black show. And, you know, for all who participated in the chat, thank you. We do appreciate everything that you guys are always supporting the Just Talk Black show. But please, before we go, like and subscribe. If you are new to the channel, please do subscribe, because what it does, it pushes it out and it will let you know when we're on all the time. It would notify you when we're on. And just to say sorry for not being on today, but Leon done an excellent job today. Really fantastic job. You know, look out for this guy. He's going to be doing big things, definitely. But yep, I will be on next week, Monday coming. So thank you for joining the Just Talk Black show.
For every black mama, for every black father, for every little one gone too soon, we speak your names tonight. Oh, nah. Why are we losing so many babies in our community? Why we hurting in the shadows with no unity? Doctors don't listen, systems ain't hearing. We crying for help, but nobody's near us. Another black life gone before it even starts. But the love still beats inside our hearts. Mamas carry pain that the world can't see. Silent grief in our families, yeah.
They say be strong, but who holds the strong ones now? So many black mothers breaking down. We need space, we need truth, we need care that's fair.
No more suffering alone, we're right here. We speak their names,
Yeah,
every angel taken from arms too soon. We feel your pain, every heartbeat still echoes in the room. You're not alone, we're standing with you. In every story, every tear you've been through. We speak their names, and we speak their names.
too many black moms blamed for what they couldn't change. Too many families carrying the shame. We need healing circles, love, protection, better care, real connection.
Black fathers grieve too, don't forget their cries. Holding pain deep behind their eyes. We deserve truth, support and choice. We deserve a place to raise our voice. No more silence, we rise for our babies. For the mamas, for the fathers, for the families. Our angels are watching over every step we take. We build strength from every heartbreak. We speak the name.